Live from Miami, Florida, broadcasting around the world. You're listening to Patriots Perspective with Christy Tasker. Your news behind the government's facade. Don't fall victim to propaganda or spend another 30 days in the tech gulag. Turn off your television and just listen. Hear the most mind-opening hours of your life as we interview whistleblowers and real patriots for uncensored truth. The Commie News Network and Fake Book cannot control the power of Jesus Christ. Therefore, they have no power over us. There aren't enough Vegas strippers to fake check what's coming. Put in your earphones and avoid the tech tyrants. Subscribe to patriotsperspective.com now and see the evidence and action items to help you take back your God-given rights, government, and expose Satan and his demons taking up residence in your community. Be sure to hit the like or rumble button and comment to tell us where you're holding the line.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Patriots Perspective. Today, I have got the guest of all guests. This is the man that I have been waiting to have on for the longest time. For those of you who follow me, you know me, I'm all about constitutional law, and there is no better person to join me than the one and only Sheriff Mack. Sheriff Mack, welcome to Patriots Perspective.
Wow, Christy, what an introduction. Thank you so much.
Well, listen, I have wanted to interview you for so long. You have no idea how grateful I was when I got the request to be on my show. I'm like, yes, absolutely. So I thank you for being here because we are in dire times here in America. My audience is very well aware of what we're actually up against. And I live in a county, Miami-Dade County, where we just elected our first sheriff in 62 years. Yeah. So it's an extremely important conversation we're about to have because my audience, many of them that live here, they have no idea the difference between the police and the sheriff, what the sheriff is supposed to be doing for us, and just the difference in the two. Because I've tried to explain them that we have the politicians, POLI, so you have the police working for the politicians, and they've even done such things as the police have taken the net offices under our commission offices, which means that they're directly controlled by the commissioners. Yes. So I wanted to get to some of your feedback on this, the structure, the layout of like what's actually happening and what should be happening so that it's not coming from me, the constitutional loving hugger that I am, but it's coming from you, a constitutional sheriff.
Well, thank you. Yes. First of all, I have to tell you, we're going to have to do this in studio next time because Miami is the only major city in America I've never been to.
Really?
I've been all over Florida.
For sure.
And I think I've been within 50, 60 miles of Miami, but I've never been there. And I would really like to.
I would welcome you here, Sheriff Mack. It would be my honor. But we might even
put that on the back burner planner.
I was going to say we might actually contact Trump Doral and actually film there. So in President Trump's actual place. That's how close we are here. So and I speak pretty good Spanish, so I would love to come there and go to the Cuban restaurants and nightclubs, whatever it is. I don't drink and I don't party, but I do like to see some of the nightlife. Like I really enjoy Times Square at night and a few other places across the country. I used to enjoy San Francisco, but we haven't been back there in a long time. But this is the thing. You bring up a very good point. There are a lot of similarities between the police departments and the sheriff's offices. They're both law enforcement, but the huge difference, and this is gigantic, is that the chief of police is appointed. And now Dade County has done the right thing and doesn't appoint the sheriff anymore. The people elect the sheriff, and that's the way it's supposed to be, because that's what made us a constitutional republic that the people choose. And the first three words of the Constitution, we the people. And so we're in charge of this government. We say who represents us at the local level. And to be quite honest with you, the chief of police should be
elected also. You really don't need a chief of police, but I don't think we're going to change that. We don't need to go there and have that fight. But the chief of police takes the same oath of office of allegiance to the Constitution as does the sheriff. The question is, what have they ever done to understand the oath of office and understand their role in protecting our God-given constitutional American republic? And so that is key to all of this, training and dedication to the oath of office. How about this one? Whatever happened to civil rights in America? Right. Does the NAACP still really push civil rights? They do not. They push the Democrat Party. And so there's one organization that really focuses on making sure that law enforcement across the country actually focuses on their responsibility to protect God-given rights, our civil rights. And right now, one of the worst abuses that has happened in America is that federal and state agencies are going after Amish farmers because the Amish don't believe in pasteurizing their milk or dairy products. And so they destroy their businesses. They destroy their family businesses. Sometimes they destroy their families, and they actually put some of them in jail and arrest them for not pasteurizing their milk. Now, in America, government requires warnings on cigarettes that they could cause cancer and that you could die from it or death, whatever. Why can't they do that to dairy products that are actually better for you than the ones that are pasteurized? This would be to keep government out of their lives. And I can give you one man who was actually put in prison because he didn't get permission from the FDA to make a salve, a lotion out of chickweed. And I know a lot about chickweed now because I work with this man. His name's Sam Gerard from Bath County, Kentucky, an Amish farmer. And he got 6 years sentence and actually served a little over 4 years in prison because he was obstinate. He didn't show any remorse, and he didn't get permission from the FDA to do his business.
Wow.
Yeah. And I know you know a lot about law. Were there any crimes mentioned there? I'm the judge who sentenced him. Those are the three reasons he got 6 years in prison.
Well, and the other thing I'm looking at here, Sheriff Mack, did anybody ever complain about, him hurting them either? That's what I'm also
seeing. One person sort of did, but they kind of wanted to take it back after they saw what government was doing to him. They claimed to have had a rash. We don't know where the rash came from, and no one else does either. They just said, "Oh, I tried this stuff." I have used chickweed salve for over a decade now. I've never seen anybody with a rash. In fact, I did a show with Ted Nugent about Sam Gerard on YouTube about 10 years ago. And I showed it to Ted, and he grabbed it and put it all over him, and he never got a rash either. It's a very innocuous substance. It's not a controlled substance. And it's absurd that this man would go through all of that when one customer complained of a possible rash. We don't know where it came from, but government assuming that role, and that the federal government now monitors every farm and ranch in this entire country. That was never meant to be. So,
and let me ask you this: when he went to trial, because the sheriff has a role in the court system too. That what I'm noticing is there's a really big disconnect. Especially, and I'm not sure if it's just here or if it's everywhere now, with the sheriff saying, "Oh, no, we can't take your report because you need to go to the police department to take your report." Whereas the sheriff actually has control of the court system too, right?
Yes. And he's usually the security for courts. Sometimes police departments are. But the big deal that you just mentioned is, okay, so you go to the sheriff and say, "I want to file a report. Somebody stole my car." And he'll ask you, where did this occur? And he'll get the address. If it's within the city limits of, let's say, Miami, well, then Miami Police Department, the gentleman's agreement between the sheriff's office and the police department is that they handle all the calls within the city limits for the police department. Outside the city limits, it's the sheriff's office. Now, does the sheriff have concurrent jurisdiction? Of course he does. The people of Miami city limits, in the city limits, still vote for the sheriff. That's the same all across the country. In Multnomah County, in Portland, where Portland is in Multnomah County, the sheriff there still has concurrent jurisdiction. And the point I'm making with all of this is the sheriff of Cook County, where Chicago is, the sheriff of Los Angeles County, where Los Angeles City is, they should be working with the local police in securing their community. Mayor Bass should be working with Sheriff Luna, and the chief of police should be working with Sheriff Luna. And Luna should be stepping forward and saying, we should not be having to depend on the federal government for this. We should do this ourselves, and we have plenty of resources. If we need help from the feds, we'll call them. Yep. But we should secure the county, and we should make sure that all the criminals brought in by the Biden administration the previous 4 years, we should be getting them out of here. And yes, deportation is something every sheriff should be helping with across this country, because there's horrible criminals here. There's international terrorists. There's cartels who have set up shop here. The sleeper cells between both of those groups is astonishing, and it's extremely threatening to the livelihoods and safety of America. And now these people don't want to take care of this?
No,
are they insane?
Well, the shocking thing to me is here in Miami-Dade County, when there have been arrests made and there's been mass arrests for illegal aliens, they've actually, to me, they've been human trafficked in. I mean, so those people don't want to be here either. I mean, they're thinking, they're led to believe, hey, you're going to get on a plane or a train and you're going to come to America and you're going to have like everything golden for you, until they go to get like on the bus or on the van. And then they realize suddenly, that, wow, things have changed. And then they're told they have to pay $15,000 or $17,000, how much ever it is now, to the cartel to carry them. And then they're going to have to turn around and send a certain amount of money back. I mean, I've interviewed some of these people who have gotten through, and they have reported that they were trafficked. Like, they were told one thing at one point. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, I want to talk about something that nobody talks about. And you're going to go, oh yeah, of course that happens. But these families, where do they get $10,000 to pay the cartels to bring their family to America? Where do they get that money? Some of them, and I don't have a percentage, but I know it's frequent, they literally sell some of their children to the cartels into the slave trade, sexual slave trade. Otherwise, where would they get that kind of money? They would have to be stealing it or doing drugs themselves and all of that. But this is actually something that happens. And they sell their daughters or their sons, their little children, into the slave trades. And that's how we ended up losing 350,000 children. We know exactly what happened to them. They were sold into the market. And this sexual exploitation of children, we're still pandering to the people causing those crimes. And it's because of the governor of Illinois and governor of California and so on and so forth. These Democrats are so sick in their heads with Trump derangement syndrome that they can't see how destructive this has been to our country and to their communities. And instead of always blaming Trump for something that's so stupid, why don't they try to work together with the federal government, or just forget the federal government and work together with their sheriffs and see if they can cause a change for themselves instead of depending on Trump. Trump shouldn't be the one doing this. They should. And every sheriff needs to take responsibility for this instead of hiding. Most of those sheriffs are hiding. And I've met with lots of Cubans across the state of Florida. Like I said, I've been there a lot. They want peace. They don't want illegal aliens. They don't want these criminals and drug dealers and human traffickers. They don't want any of that. And neither do the people, just regular everyday people who want to work in peace and safety. And so the solution for all of this, going back to what you started the show with, and what we talked about before we came on the air, is that returning to our Constitution is still the solution for America, my friends. And we need to have constitutional sheriffs and constitutional chiefs of police and constitutional mayors and city councils. And we're seeing just the opposite. And who's going to defend civil rights in our communities? The responsibility to protect civil rights is every peace officer in this country, every sheriff, every chief of police, every law enforcement commissioner, which we have in New York. Our job is to protect the rights of the people. And when was the last time you heard anyone getting trained on that in law enforcement or police academies? We've got to get back to the basics.
It's actually the dire opposite here, Sheriff Mack. We're having an issue where, people are being arrested for simply asking questions, for reporting police officers who are working off duty, and creating a transparency issue as a whole, claiming they can't give a ticket, to, a passerby while they're off duty, but yet they're picking and choosing, if a person annoys them, they'll give that person a ticket that maybe is like a resident. There are issues where the county and the city mayors and the commissioners seem to actively control the departments themselves. In other words, before they can write a report or issue any statements or, basically tell what you're stating in a report, they have to call and get clearance. Well, who do they need to call and get clearance from? Can't you just write on the report what I'm telling you? I'm telling you what happened to me, or what happened. But, it's like there's this veil that has to go over something so that they don't either get themselves in trouble or so that they also don't have to admit that there is either violent crimes going on, there's trespasses going on. So can you talk a little bit about that and how that affects our insurances and why they may be trying to, let's just say in a nice term, sugarcoat their reports to avoid actual factual details so that the public is not aware?
Well, there's no question that has happened, and that's been a very sad phenomenon nationwide, where chiefs of police and city councils want to cook the books to show the citizens that, crime has dropped. Look at our reports. It's obviously doing better and everything's going better. And then you see all the television reports of crimes committed within these jurisdictions every weekend. And it's not. And sometimes there's actually been criminal investigations on cooking the books, but it's a frequent occurrence. And you have to have people that are honorable in office, and they have, and especially the ones that are protecting our communities and civil rights. And so, look, Martin Luther King was arrested over 30 times. Over 30 times. He was in the Birmingham County Jail when he issued a statement, one of his best statements ever. And this is part of our training that I promote and that I give nationwide to sheriffs and law enforcement and public officials. He actually said that all of us have a responsibility to obey just laws. And I agree with that. Of course we do. That's almost a trite statement. But conversely, he said, we all have a legal and moral responsibility to disobey unjust laws. So anything unconstitutional, anything that violates civil rights. Martin Luther King made that statement from jail. And do you know that he never committed a crime? 30 arrests. And who made those arrests? Local deputies, sometimes sheriffs. Selma, Alabama, it was the sheriff. And sometimes they shot and killed protesters who were doing nothing more than marching. And we're doing the same today. It's not always towards the blacks, though, now. It just seems like we always change, like I said, Amish farmers.
Yeah.
If there's exemptions for it, if everybody's going to get their turn sooner or later, because that's what exemptions and exceptions are, we get to pick and choose who we protect and who we don't protect and who we don't like. And right now, this political rancor between the Democrats and Republicans is absolutely out of control. Yeah. And most of that blame right now goes to the Democrats. They are out of control. They are out of their minds. This insanity has got to stop. And I think the bottom line is it starts with patrol officers, and it starts with sheriffs, and it starts with training, and it starts with dedicating ourselves to our oath of office and to the Constitution, and to make sure all that boils down that we're actually protecting civil rights.
Exactly. And here, I'm not even sure that they even know what the civil rights are, what the Constitution is.
Well, if they've never studied them, how are they going to know what they are?
Right. Exactly. And that's the problem. It does reside there because they, and not only that, but at the same time, if you know the Constitution and you respect people's rights, you're most likely going to, you're not going to push them to the point where, I see a lot of our officers and listen, we have great officers, as you well know. I mean, you've run many departments and consulted with many, I know. But we have a lot of great officers. So I'm not speaking to all the officers. I back them. I love them. I go pray with them. But, there are a lot of officers out there that are making those good officers look really, really bad. And many of them have been on suspensions. They shouldn't even, they should have been completely terminated, in my opinion.
Yes.
So what does happen? Like when somebody does something so bad that, like, in my opinion, they should be terminated, and probably in your opinion should be terminated. What rights does a police chief or the sheriff have, like, in terms of, letting that person go? Because I feel like we're hearing a lot of times that, oh, we can't let them go because either we're friends with them or, they're directly violating civil rights and the law. So just tell people what should be actually happening.
Well, it's just like any other company that you have to have a reason to fire someone, and it needs to be documented, of course. Personnel issues always come up. And I agree with you. There's just far too many that sour the apple barrel. But most cops are good people. I would say around 75, 80% of the cops are good people, and they don't want to break the law, and they don't want to hurt anybody, and they want to do their jobs correctly. But that other 25%, the other 20%, even if it's 10%, they do give us a bad name. And that's where I believe that specific training on de-escalation, and the best de-escalation is for every sheriff, every deputy, every patrol officer to know just what we were saying, to know what the rights of the people are. Yeah. There is no way that you can ever have somebody patrolling your neighborhoods that doesn't know what the rights of the citizens are. Every day there's another short or a video on YouTube that shows an officer trying to push his weight around and push his badge around and have a pride fight with somebody who says, I'm not doing anything wrong. I don't even have to talk to you. I know what the Fifth Amendment is. I know my rights, and I'm not talking to you. No, I'm not showing you my ID. I don't have to. And that's part of our training also. And so we have got to be properly trained. And all of these issues that have happened with police brutality and cops doing stupid things and committing crimes themselves, what have police academies and sheriff's offices and chiefs of police and in fine, the leadership in law enforcement nationwide, what have they done differently to make these things less frequent in their jurisdictions and across the country? I'll tell you what they've done. Nothing. They haven't changed. Oh, they give token consideration to say, oh, we've really started a lot on de-escalation tactics and procedures. Okay, so you teach about an officer to take a step backwards while he's in some heated confrontation with a citizen. If they don't know, if the citizen knows more about his rights than the officer, that's always going to put the officer on the spot. He's going to want to, it's going to hurt his pride and hurt his feelings, and he's going to end up doing something stupid. The training has not been specific enough in understanding, one, our constitutional role in our American Republic. And how about this? Do the people even know that we're not a democracy and that we were never intended to be a democracy? How are you going to, and that democracy is not synonymous with liberty? Yeah,
No.
we've all been brainwashed to that. And these cops are the only thing in democracy is permission to do anything you want as long as the majority says you can.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
that's mobocracy. And that's what the founding fathers called it, mobocracy. So
Mobocracy.
you see, Christy, we have a lot of work to do. And law enforcement needs to take some responsibility for this.
Well, what can they do, Sheriff Mack? I mean, so if let's just say we have a
Have my training.
Yeah. Okay. So is that the Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association?
Yeah, CSPOA.org. And so I'm going the first week in November. I'm going to Elko, Nevada, and we're providing this training there. And the citizens get it just like everybody else. And next, every one of you, I invite you, Christy, to become a member of our CSPOA posse. There it is right there. CSPOA. Join now. Yep. Because this is just about the only peaceful and effective solution we have left. It's for Democrats. It's for Republicans. It's for people who are in any party, independents, libertarians. This is for everyone in our effort to do what Charlie Kirk said, and that is return our country to the Constitution. It's our foundation. It's the basis for everything we do. And that's really what the problem is in America, is that the Democrats and Republicans have replaced our Constitution with their political agendas and dogma. Yeah. And we've got to recognize this.
I mean, and also, Sheriff Mack, do you teach in this exactly what people should do to, defend their rights, where they should go? And also, what are people going to learn specifically?
Well, first, the American citizens need to know what their rights are also. Okay, so that training, our training helps them as well. And it's very similar to the training we offer to police. And we want the citizens of this country to know what the police are supposed to know and what they're supposed to do and how they're supposed to treat us. But I want to get people involved with our posse, with the CSPOA posse, so we can train you to work with your local law enforcement and work with your sheriff in establishing a posse for his county. And the sheriffs that have had posses have done so well. Yeah. And in fact, let me tell you real quickly, the tale of two sheriffs in a county pretty near you, in Tampa, in Hillsborough County. Sheriff Cronister actually arrested Pastor Rodney Howard Brown for having church, for conducting church service during COVID. Okay. Wow. In America, we arrested a sheriff. I mean, we arrested a pastor by a sheriff. Wow. On the other hand, the other sheriff that I want to bring up is Sheriff Glenn Hamilton in New Mexico. And Pastor Caleb Cooper went to him and said, I'm not going to close my church down. You see, Sheriff, the government doesn't run my church. Jesus Christ runs my church, and we will stay open. What I want from you, Sheriff, is you to tell me what you're going to do to protect me and my congregation. And the sheriff's answer should be reverberating across this country. He said, if it takes me having to go to jail myself, so be it, but I will do everything in my power to protect you. Sure enough, here came the state police to shut him down from the governor's orders. And the sheriff was there, and he told them, I have deputized every single person inside that church. They are under my authority. They answer to me, and that church will stay open. The state police left, never came back, and Pastor Caleb Cooper kept his church open every Sunday, every minute that he desired. This is what I'm talking about. And now I want to ask every one of your listeners and your viewers, which sheriff would you like to have in your county? Yeah. That's what we do at CSPOA. And yes, Sheriff Glenn Hamilton had our training before all this happened. He was a good man. He was good of heart. He knew a lot about the Constitution beforehand, but he's had our training. He's had other constitutional lawyers train him and his office, and we're open for all of it. In fact, Chris Ann Hall is a constitutional attorney that we've worked with a great deal, and she lives in Florida.
Yep. She is a great person as well. So you'll have to definitely come. I would love to have both of you both of you down. We've had her speak here at some of the organizations. She did a great training, but there's just not enough.
What she doesn't cover is my Supreme Court case that I won when I was sheriff.
Talk a little bit about that and tell people.
And we really want to do that. Well, it was the first and only time in history where sheriffs sued the federal government, took it all the way to the Supreme Court and won. Now, this case is the most powerful 10th Amendment decision, and I put the highlights in this little booklet that's available at our website. And let me give you two quotes. Scalia wrote the decision, and he quotes the Federalist Papers. When was the last time a Supreme Court case quoted the Founding Fathers and the Federalist Papers? He did frequently. And so he quotes also the New York case of 1992. And that was when New York was being forced to take nuclear waste from the federal government. They said, no, you can't do that to us. We're not your puppets, and we don't work for you. And they won. New York won. And then a few years later, I filed on similar grounds that the federal government can't tell sheriffs what to do. And we won on that. But this is what he said. This is what Scalia quoted from the New York case. We have held, however, that state legislatures are not subject to federal direction. Don't you wish your state legislatures knew that? Your county commissioners, your city council, your school boards, those are all state legislatures. But on the other hand, on page 9 of this tremendous, you can read this in 10 minutes, but you really need to study it.
Yeah.
Okay, so he says, hence, and this is Federalist 51 that he's quoting, hence a double security arises to the rights of the people. The different governments will control each other. So if different governments are supposed to control each other, then why is it that we don't have enough sheriffs and city councils and county commissioners and county attorneys telling the federal government, you have very discrete and enumerated limited powers. When you come into our county, you better check with me first. And every sheriff should be enforcing that, because the federal government will run roughshod over the rights of the people. We've seen it far too often. And our job is to protect the rights of the people. If the federal government's violating that, then we have to take charge, and we have to stop it. Defend the people from all criminals, both foreign and domestic.
Well, let me ask you this. When we're talking about the federal government versus the local government, what if it's like your local county, or let's just say here in Miami, 11th Judicial Circuit? Who's supposed to take care of that? Because what I see is people like running around kind of pointing fingers at each other, making it out like you haven't reported it to the right authorities. And it's like, whoa. Yeah. Okay. Who am I supposed to?
Very good point. Because yes, we have the responsibility locally. The sheriff has complete, and he is the CLEO, Chief Law Enforcement Officer. Scalia also calls us the sheriffs, the CLEOs in this case. Okay. It's documented. The sheriff is in charge. Why? Because he's the only one elected. He answers to the power source, the people. Mm-hmm. The chief of police is a bureaucrat. He is appointed. Now, I'm not degrading the sheriff in any way, or the chief of police in any way, but that's just a fact. He's not elected. He answers to a committee, and the sheriff answers only to the people. And therein lies his real power and his responsibility. He is not to watch government crimes and say, wish I could do something.
Yeah.
He should damn well do something.
So if there is crimes going on with the judicial system that can easily be pointed out and proven, the sheriff should investigate those, or what should happen? The person should go to a police report.
Yeah, he should look into it. And then if he wants the FBI or somebody else to come in and help with it, or turn it over to them. But look, the federal government has very limited law enforcement authority. Mm-hmm. And the sheriff has a wide variety of it. And he can call in state investigators. He can do it himself. He has, most sheriffs have detectives that work for him. I certainly did. I was a detective once. So yes, this is up to him, and it's his responsibility, and he should be doing it.
Yeah. Okay. So, and they're above the judges and everything, because a lot of people have asked.
No, not above, but he doesn't work for the judges.
Right.
They say, oh, he has to do whatever the judges say. He doesn't. The sheriff doesn't work for the judicial branch.
Right.
He has to do whatever the legislative branch. No, he doesn't. He doesn't work for the legislative branch. He's part of the executive branch. We are the executors of the law. And if the judge does something wrong, first, as I did, and I know other sheriffs have, you go and meet with the judge privately and talk to him about it. Say, you messed this one up and you need to reverse this. And I'm taking care of this just between you and me. I'll let you do the right thing. But if this isn't taken care of, I will take more action.
Okay, that's clear. Okay, so then the sheriff actually reports to who?
The people.
The people? And then
he has no other supervisor.
Okay. So no governor, no nothing can tell the sheriff.
I mean, he works with all of them, and there's times that he should.
Yeah.
And in fact, the sheriffs in Florida voted unanimously to work with Governor DeSantis to get illegal aliens out of Florida.
Yeah.
Unanimously.
Yes.
And Democrat, Republican alike.
Yeah. Exactly.
So,
because nobody wants them. Nobody wants that here. And that's been
except deranged Democrats.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So I got one more question for you, and then I'll let you go until next time, because I know we're pressing on time here. When it comes to the jail system, can we talk a little bit about the jail system? Actually, two questions: the jail system and CPS. I want to cover both of those just briefly. I know. Let's listen.
Well, to combine those two, most CPS workers should be in jail. Okay. And
I agree with you.
CPS is so out of control. They are so the American Gestapo in America, IRS and CPS.
Yep. And what can people, what rights do people actually have? Because it's very confusing. I actually covered the Megan Walsh case. Matter of fact, I was on part of her legal team where, her father is an honorary U.S. Marshal, meaning he really has no power, but he evidently has a lot of power. Came in with the sheriff who he campaigned for on their property and took her children, which I thought was like a total conflict of interest. And, she had therapists telling her that she should, pull back from her parents, and, she had rights over her children. And because, maybe he didn't like it, and he has no grandparent laws in the state of Florida, whether we agree with it or not. Listen, I mean, I'm not saying, everybody's going to agree with the way Megan was raising her children, but the reality is, what rights does CPS have, and do people actually have to let them come into their home?
They have stolen and assumed lots of power, and governors have allowed this to happen. They all need to wake up. Most governors, if they got more reports about CPS abuse and taking children from parents who have done nothing, just a complaint. And then they take the children away. No, this is, I'll tell you what, there's a lot of sheriffs now who don't even want to call CPS under those kinds of abusive homes or the complaints, because they end up going crazy and kidnapping these children. And I mean kidnapping. They take them and put them into foster homes before any hearings, before any rights of the parents have been recognized and exercised. These organizations in just about every single state have gone way out of control. There's far too much money that goes to these agencies because they put these kids into other people's homes and foster homes. I've had it happen to my own grandson, but he only had to stay 4.5 days because we were really raising a stink. But otherwise, we've talked to families with no money, that are completely descamisados, disenfranchised, and they don't have the wherewithal or the power or the money to fight them, and they end up losing their children forever.
Yeah.
And this has got to stop. And CPS needs to police themselves and straighten out themselves. And when my grandson was taken, I was there at the scene with my wife, and I said, look, I know you're supposed to allow grandparents to take the children until you figure this out.
Yeah.
They said we didn't qualify.
Wow.
I was a school resource officer, and I also specialized in crimes against children as a detective. And now they said, we didn't qualify. You want to know why? Because we disagreed with some of their assessment about the problem facing my daughter and her husband on this whole thing. We disagreed with their assessment. So they broke their own laws and said that we couldn't take, and they put my grandson, a 2-year-old, in foster care. Yeah. And we really went after them, and folks, remain silent on these types of issues. My son-in-law did. He remained silent. He didn't conduct any interviews that they requested. He said, I don't care what you ask me. I know my rights, and I'm not interviewing with you. Yeah. 4.5 days later, we got Mack back. Yep.
And Megan went through there were people telling her, not to do the interviews, not to do the case plan.
Don't do it.
Bless her heart, she did it. And she's lost all 4 of her children, and she passed every drug test.
You try to be honest with those people and they will hang you for it.
Yep. There is no, what I saw, there was no within it. And it was like the most heartbreaking, I think it's the most heartbreaking thing I've ever seen.
It is. It is so sad.
It was an absolute, and that
you want to be traumatized, have CPS come into your home.
Yep. And
you will be absolutely terrorized.
But it was I felt like it was like a ball, like she was a dog, and they kept throwing the ball further and further and further out, to the point where you could do nothing but drown because they're trying to run out of time. And
these people, they hire people that are without normal human feeling.
Yeah. Well, the people that were testifying against her either had no children, or they were LGBTQ, or they were under the age of 25. And then anyone who wanted to testify for her, they fired.
Yeah.
So
there you go.
Testified on her behalf, they were fired and immediately terminated. Yeah. And so, that's just wrong. I mean, that is
And
wrong.
Again, police need to be trained with this because they're usually there to keep the peace. They're not there to keep the peace. They're there to make sure that CPS can do whatever they want. Yeah. And that needs to be reversed.
Yeah. And the way we can do that, ladies and gentlemen, is I'm actually going to go on and sign up for CSPOA to make sure that I'm part of the posse and get a posse started here, Sheriff Mack, so we can have you out to speak and so that we can really learn what our rights are. I'm also going to take this to the Miami-Dade County Sheriff Rose. We have a female sheriff that President Trump endorsed, and Veterans for America First also endorsed her. So I'm the National Press Secretary for Veterans for America First. So we'll be airing this there as well. So, everybody needs to know what your rights are. I mean, because at the end of the day, that's all we've got is the Constitution to stand on. And if we don't stand on it, if we don't stand together, we're doomed. I mean, we are really doomed. Sheriff Mack, I thank you so much for your time, sir, for your service and just standing for the people, because, it's not easy. And matter of fact, it's very difficult. It's almost like think of the way, what it is. People think you're going to become a Christian and all of a sudden your life is going to get better.
Well,
it actually sometimes gets
I really enjoyed your show. I really feel a kinship with you because you really know what's going on and you're dedicated to the Constitution and to America. So just God, family, and country. We've got to get back to every single one of those principles that America was founded upon: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That's what we're all about. And the Constitution is still the solution.
Yep. Listen, there's no better words I have in that other than do unto others as you would have others do unto you. God
Amen.
Bless you, everybody. Make sure you subscribe.
Remember, take action. Take action. Don't let big tech win. Share this video with a friend now. Most importantly, do unto others as you would have others do unto you.